Welcome to the course Digital System Design. In this lecture, we will look at flip-flops. In the previous lectures, we have looked at what latches are. The basic difference between latches and flip-flop are that latches respond to the levels in the enable or the clock input of the device, whereas flip-flops respond to the transitions or edges in the clock or the enable signal to the devices. So basically latches are level triggered, typically a positive level as shown in this figure enables or makes the latch to work. So the latch will function or can change the state only with this appropriate level during the duration when the level is positive or negative depending upon the design. Whereas in the case of flip-flop, they are they work in synchronization with a transition in the clock pulse. The reason why flip-flops are favored as compared to latches in designing synchronous digital circuit is that we want all the changes in the flip-flops to take place at a precise duration. Then only the operation of the digital systems and the state of the various memory devices, flip-flops, can be found out. If different devices change at different time, then the state to which the overall system will go to becomes unpredictable. So to make that happen, we prefer the transitions to enable the state changes, and that is why flip-flops are preferred. Since there are two transitions in every pulse, one being a rising transition, another being a trailing transition. In other words, the rising transitions, that is a 0 to 1 transition, is called as the positive edge, while the trailing or a 1 to 0 transition is called as the negative edge. We can construct flip-flops in two ways. One, they can respond to a positive edge on the clock pulse, or they can respond to the negative edge of the clock pulse. So we have flip-flops which are positive edge triggered or flip-flops which are negative edge triggered. But the design of the flip-flop is not altered much whether you go in for positive edge or negative edge. There will be only a slight change in the circuitry, as we will see soon. With this background on how flip-flops differ from that of the latches, we will see how a D flip-flop can be built using two D latches. And to make this happen, we use two D latches and in a concatenated manner, and one we will call it as the master and another we will call it as the slave, because it is the master or the first D latch which will change in response to the external D input, and the slave will simply follow the master. But it will so happen that during the clock pulse, the level of the clock pulse will enable the master, and the master will follow the external D input during the level, if it is positive level or negative level depending upon the design. And during the transitions, when the clock goes back to the original value, in that transition master stops following the external D input, while the slave will start following the master, and it will retain the value that is frozen by the master during the transition until next transition comes. In this manner, the slave simply follows the master, hence the name master slave flip-flop is being used. So in this case, what we have done is we have used a clock. Clock is nothing but the same as the enable input of the latch that we have seen so far. That is why the clock is connected to the enable input of these two latches. The only difference is that the clocks of what is being connected to the master and the slave differ in the sense that the clock given to the slave is negated from that of the clock that is given to the master using a NOT gate. So whenever you have, if the clock is initially 0, let us say, then what will happen is there will be a 0 in the enable input of the master. So the master is disabled. So whatever changes that takes place in the D input will not affect the master and therefore Y. While a 0 in the clock means the enable signal that is given to the slave D latch will be 1, which means that the slave will be enabled and the slave will work in the sense that the Y input, which is the output of the master, is the D input for the slave, and Q will simply follow the Y. But Y being frozen because the master is not changing. So whatever value that is stored in the master will also be present in slave and it will be available at Q. So this is what will happen when the clock is 0. Okay, this is like a no change case. Now when the clock goes to 1, then we can see that when the clock goes to 1 from 0, the master is enabled and roughly at the same time the slave is disabled. So as soon as the master is enabled, as long as the clock or the master is enabled remain high, the D input will affect the master latch and therefore Y will start following D, but for a propagation delay of the master latch. And during this time the slave isolates Q from Y. Because the slave is disabled, Q will not get affected. The effect of D will only be present in Y and it will not go all the way to Q. Well, this is what happens when the clock goes to 1 during the clock pulse. When clock comes back to 0, that is during the 1 to 0 transitions, or 1 to 0 means it is the trailing edge or the negative edge of the clock. At the negative edge of the clock, since the clock is going from 1 to 0, when it goes to 0, again the master is disabled while the slave is enabled. So whatever be the last value that the master has been storing during the transition, which is available in Y, will start affecting the slave latch, and the slave latch will retain the value given by Y and it will be stored and it will be available at Q. So whatever value that is stored in the master during the 0 to 1 or the trailing or the negative edge of the clock is the one which will be stored by the slave and it will be available in the Q input, and it will continue to be available when the clock is 0. Until a next pulse comes, this value will be present. So the effect of this master slave flip flop is that you give a sufficient amount of clock pulse duration so that you let the master, you don't expect D to keep changing during the clock pulse. We expect D to remain at a certain value, and the clock pulse width is good enough for the master to settle down to a value. And during the transition from 1 to 0 or the trailing edge of the clock or the negative edge of the clock, the value present in the master will be transferred to slave and it will be available at Q. So this is the function of the master slave D flip flop. So it is an edge triggered one and it is a negative edge triggered one. We can alternatively, by negating the clock pulse that is given to the master latch while giving the same unnegated clock pulse to the slave, you can easily see that you can also construct a positive edge triggered flip flop. The clock will be normally 1 and it will go to 0 for some time, and the positive edge, that is a 0 to 1 transition, will trigger the flip flop. So there can be two kinds of master slave D flip flop constructed using two D latches. Accordingly, they have two different representation. You have one input D input. The outputs, as usual, although not denoted here, are usually called as Q and Q complement, and there is a clock input. To denote the clock input, we put this symbol, okay, a small arrow mark at the place where the input is given. So this symbol indicates that it is a clock. And if it is given like this, if the input comes directly to this input, clock input, then we mean it is a positive edge. On the other hand, if it is a negative edge triggered flip flop, we indicate it by putting a bubble at the input end. So these are the two graphical symbolic representation of the positive and negative edge D flip flop. Once we have a D flip flop, we can construct other flip flops based on that. For example, we can construct a JK flip flop using a D flip flop. One straightforward way of doing is to just make use of the characteristic equation of the JK flip flop and implement it with the help of a D flip flop. We know that the Q plus of a JK flip flop is equal to JQ dash plus K dash Q. Okay, and we also know that the characteristic equation of the D flip flop is Q plus is equal to D. So if you want a JK flip flop constructed using a D flip flop, if you give this function JQ dash plus K dash Q to the D input of a D flip flop, then this, when an appropriate clock pulse comes, which is a positive edge in this case, then this value JQ dash plus K dash Q will be stored and it will be available at Q, which means that this whole circuit will behave as a JK flip flop. So this part of the circuit basically realizes this equation. So you feed Q as well as Q dash back to the input side. You have the J as well as the K external inputs. So here we perform J into or and Q dash. Here K dash is found out and it is ANDed with Q, and both are being ORed, and that is given as the D input for this D latch. So effectively this whole circuitry will work like a JK flip flop. Again, it will be a positive edge triggered JK flip flop because the edge triggering is decided by the nature of the D flip flop's characteristics. Well, now you can easily guess if you want to construct a T flip flop, you just tie both J and K input together and take a common output, call it as T. We could construct a T edge triggered T flip flop. Now we have seen how to construct a D flip flop using master slave configuration and make use of it to construct a JK flip flop or a T flip flop. You can also construct a master slave JK flip flop using two JK latches without using a D flip-flop. Okay, we will see that. Before that, we will quickly see how this JK flip-flop can be symbolically represented, number one. Number two, what will be the truth table of it and the characteristic equation. And to understand the functionality of this edge-triggered JK flip-flop, we will look at a timing diagram also. So, the symbolic representation of a positive edge-triggered JK flip-flop is as follows. You have a J input, you have a K input, you have a clock input. This arrow mark indicates it's a clock input, and there is no bubble, which means it is a positive edge-triggered JK flip-flop. You have the output Q and its complemented value Q bar. Well, the truth table is, you know already, because it is the same as the JK latch. Now, the only thing is that when the transition takes place is the only thing that differ. Whether is it as a result of a level, in which case it is a JK latch, or whether it is as a result of a transition, positive or negative, that decides whether it is a edge-triggered flip-flop. But the truth table remains the same. That is, if J is equal to 0, K is equal to 0, Q plus is equal to Q. If Q is 0, Q plus is 0. If Q is 1, Q plus is 1. When J is 0, K is equal to 1. This is a reset condition. For both possible values of Q, that is 0 and 1, Q plus becomes 0. That is, the flip-flop is reset. When J equal to 1, K equal to 0, these two rows, irrespective of the value of Q, Q plus is 1. That is, the flip-flop is set. This is the set condition. And J equal to 1, K is equal to 1 is the toggle condition. So, if Q was 0, it becomes 1. If Q was 1, it becomes 0. And the K-map based derivation of the characteristic equation of the JK flip-flop is the same as that of the latch. Only when the transition occurs differs. It is Q plus is equal to JQ dash plus K dash Q. Now, we will look at the timing diagram for this positive edge-triggered JK flip-flop for an appropriate values of J and K with respect to a clock. So now, henceforth, we will look at the timing diagram always with respect to a clock. So clock is simply usually a square waveform, and if the width of the positive pulse and the negative pulse, if they are same, then that is one way we will typically depict, but it need not be the same. What we are more interested is a pulse that has to come, and then it retains a value till one more pulse comes. Here the width of the pulse occupies 50% of the period of the clock. Now this is a positive edge triggered flip-flop. So here you have a clock, initially 1, and then it goes to a 0. This is a negative edge, so it will have no effect on the flip-flop's transition. Let us assume that J is 1 and K is 0 during this period. So this is where the first positive edge comes. Why is it positive edge? Because the clock goes from 0 to 1. So it is a positive edge. So this is the time at which the clock, this clock edge triggers the flip-flop to change. Change occurs according to the value of J and K. Here J is equal to 1, K is equal to 0, which is a set condition. Therefore, Q, which was originally 0, becomes 1. But of course, this change in the output of the flip-flop, that is in Q, will take some time, and that is shown here as the propagation time Tp. So at T1 is the time when this transition occurs, and it takes T1 plus Tp is the point at which Q settles to the new value 1. Well, again the clock pulses are shown here are idle in the sense, is ideal in the sense the transitions are very sharp. Usually the transitions will not be sharp like this. There will be a finite time for it to raise from 0 to 1 or trail from 1 to 0. We will also see what happens with respect to such a clock pulse. So next, let us say J and K value changes. But again, all these will not have any effect until the next transition comes. At this point of time, see, when during this time the master changes, but the change is reflected to the slave only during the following positive edge. So at this time, if you look at J is 0, K is 1, therefore it is a reset condition. So Q becomes 0. It was 1 earlier, it becomes 0. And again, that change takes place at a time Tp after T2. Then again J and K may change. Here it will have no effect on Q. And at this last positive edge, the flip-flop changes. Again, during this change, the master will change, but the slave will not change. The output of the flip-flop will not change. So this is the time we give for the master to settle down. And during this transition, if you look at, J is 1, K is 1, which means this condition where there is a toggling of the output of the flip-flop. So the output was originally 0, it toggles to 1 after some propagation delay. So this is the timing diagram for the JK flip-flop. Now let's look at how we can construct a master-slave JK flip-flop without first constructing an edge-triggered D flip-flop. The diagram, the neater diagram for that is given here. So if you look here, you have two latches. Okay, of course this is constructed using a SR latch. Yeah, there are two SR latches in master-slave configuration. Using that we are constructing a JK edge-triggered JK flip-flop. Again, JK flip-flop is constructed by taking Q and Q bar and then feeding it back. So basically what we have is that two SR latches, and before each of these two SR latches we have put AND gates, and we control these AND gate using with respect of the enable signal. So there is one enable signal that enables or disables these two AND gates, and similarly there is two AND gates here. They are enabled using this enable pulse. Of course there is a clock which basically is being fed to these enable signals of both these master and slave latches. So you have a clock. That clock, in contrast with the earlier one, okay, we will first see this one. Here in this one, the clock is directly given to this slave, and its inverted one is given to enable the master, the inputs for the master SR latch. Of course, the other two inputs of J and K, other inputs, okay, are one is J and another is K, which are the external control signals. Along with J, you have ANDed Q bar. Along with K, you have ANDed Q in order for the JK functionality to work. Now let us see how this master-slave flip-flop should work. A more detailed working we will see in the next slide. So if the clock is initially 1, okay, if the clock is initially 1, then what will happen is this 1 will go here and it will open up these two gates. The value of P and P dash, which basically tell what the master is storing, the bit that is storing, goes to the S and R inputs of the slave latch, which we call it as S2 and R2, and the slave latch will be set accordingly. So what is the value present in master will be stored in slave, and it will be available at the Q and Q bar. So when clock is 1, normally the clock will be 1, okay, and during that time, if you see that because the clock is negated, what goes here is a 0. So a 0 is given to both these two AND gates. So irrespective of the value of J, K and what is being fed from Q and Q bar, S1 and R1 are 0, 0. So the master is totally disabled from J and K. So it is a no change state condition, and master will simply retain whatever value it has got. So when the clock is 1, master does not change, and slave simply stores whatever the master was being storing, and it will also enable it to be available at the output. This is the normal state. When the clock goes from 1 to 0, when it goes to 0, the slave will be disabled. When it goes to 0, the master will be enabled. As soon as the master is enabled, then based on the value of J and K and the original value of Q, the master will change. Again, we assume that period during which the clock is 0, that pulse width, okay, that level should be just enough for the master to settle down. We do not expect J and K to change during this value. So this is just to allow the master to settle down. Again, when the clock goes from 0 to 1, when it goes to 0 to 1, when the clock becomes 1, the master is disabled, because when it is 1, there is a 0 here and master is disabled. And when the clock becomes 1, the slave is enabled. So whatever during this transition the master was storing, that will become available to slave to store it and then make it available at the output. So this way we can construct a master slave JK flip-flop. Again, this opening up of these two gates and these two gates have to be very carefully adjusted, so that they are at the same time. We say that one is isolated, another is opened up. They have to be very precisely done for this master and slave to work. And to make that happen, we show how precisely the circuits are being designed or constructed to enable this to happen. So here we have a case which is again the master slave JK flip flop, which is different from that of the previous one that is shown here. Here the master gets a negated clock while the slave gets a normal clock. Whereas here the master gets the normal clock while the negated clock is given to the slave. This is just to illustrate how these two can be constructed just by manipulating where you put the NOT gate in the clock circuit. If you do so, you will see that this will become a negative edge triggered flip-flop. The trailing edge of the clock pulse will be the one which will trigger the flip-flop's output to change. Well, as usual, it is similar to the previous one. You have got an SR latch acting as the master, another SR latch acting as the slave. P and P bar are the outputs of the master. Q and Q bar are the outputs of the slave. Q bar is fed back to the AND gate to which J is connected. Q is fed and given to the AND gate to which K is connected. The clock is the other input to these AND gates. Now, this is the timing diagram of that illustrates how this JK master slave JK flip flop works. Well, let us assume that the clock is 0. When the clock is 0, then a 0 and 0 at these two AND gates totally disables the J input, K input as well as what is fed from the Q and Q bar. Both S and R of the master will be 0, 0 and master will not change. So, when the clock is 0, there won't be any change in Q. Now, to illustrate, let us assume that J is equal to 1, K is equal to 0 when the clock pulse comes. So, here is the clock pulse. That is, this is the clock pulse. This is the positive edge of the clock pulse and this is the negative edge of the clock pulse. Again, to be more realistic, we have not shown a sharp transition in the clock pulse. The finite time it takes for the clock to raise from 0 to 1 is shown here. And again we have marked 2 points A and B along this the raising edge of the clock, A being earlier and B being at a higher voltage level. Okay, first A occurs, A is a point, then there will be B. Similarly, when the clock trails, there are 2 points we have marked, levels we have marked, one at C which is at a higher level closer to 1 and D which is closer to 0. Well, now what we want is that when the clock is 0, then these two gates are being disabled and these two are enabled and the slave will output the value. When the clock rises, we must want the slave to be isolated before opening up of the master. Okay, because if you open up master can start changing and may even affect the slave to change, which we don't want. So to be on the safer side, we want the slave to be isolated first. So these gates are being designed in such a manner that a level equal to A blocks this AND gate from propagating P to S and P bar to R bar. So the slave isolates the master from the output at this point. At the point B, okay, then what happens? That is when these two gates enable the other inputs, that is J, K, Q, Q bar and so on. Okay. So as a result of which what will happen is that we isolate the slave and then at this point the master is enabled and it will start following the JK inputs and it will work as per the JK. So in this case J is equal to 1, K is equal to 0. So what will happen is that P becomes 1 because it is a set condition. P becomes 1. So J is equal to 1, K is equal to 0, P becomes 1. Again there will be a slight propagation delay here, not very much enlarged, but P will become 1. And actually this is the duration we give so that the P to stabilize, because if you include a finite propagation delay, instead of changing exactly here, it may change here. What we want to ensure is that before this trailing edge comes, the master's output, that is P, has to settle down. That decides the pulse width of the clock. Now when the during the trailing edge, then what happen is that at the point C, the master is disabled. These two AND gates are disabled and therefore J and K will no more affect the value of the master. and whatever master was having, that is P, the output of the master P will be available, and at D these two gates are opened up, so P will affect the functionality of the slave flip-flop and Q will then get affected. So again we first isolate master and then open up slave, okay, in the reverse order. So at this point D, then what happens, the transition slave changes and the Q output will become 1. It was 0 originally and it becomes 1. Why it is 1? Because it follows P. P has been 1. It becomes 1. So here note that here at B master follows the input, at D slaves follow the master. So that is the precise timing that we make use of it. Again these are similar to what we have already shown. At this point the change occurs. This is a case where J is equal to 0, K is equal to 1. So a reset condition. So P becomes 0 at this point. Here itself P becomes 0 and then Q becomes 0 at this point because it is a reset condition. And this is the case where J is equal to 1, K is equal to 1. So this is a flipping condition or a toggling condition. P flips from 0 to 1 here, and during this trailing edge Q flips from 0 to 1 following P. So this is the way a master slave JK flip-flop works. Now it is possible to construct one flip-flop from another flip-flop easily. Suppose you have got a JK flip-flop, we can construct a T flip-flop by tying both the inputs J and K and treating only one input and calling it as a T. Well, if we have a D flip-flop, you can construct a T flip-flop by first constructing a JK flip-flop and then tying the input. Alternatively, you can just use the characteristic equation of the T flip-flop and construct it. We know that how the D flip-flop works. Q plus is equal to D. So what you do is you use the characteristic equation of whatever may be the flip-flop and give it as the D input of the D flip-flop, then that D flip-flop will work as the required flip-flop. So the characteristic equation of the T flip-flop is the external T exclusive OR Q. So the Q and the T are being exclusive OR. If this is given to D, then D is equal to T exclusive OR Q, and Q plus will be equal to D when a positive edge comes in the clock, and therefore Q plus will become T exclusive OR Q. So thus we have a T flip-flop. And once having constructed, you can represent it using this notation, graphical notation. So of course this is the SR flip-flop notation. Normally we don't use SR flip-flops, or for that matter even SR latch in circuit. We typically use only D transparent latch, and when it comes to flip-flop we use D flip-flop or a T or a JK flip-flop. SR is basically used only as a building block for other flip-flops to be constructed. Anyhow, the symbolic representation of SR flip-flop where the clock is positive edge is shown here. Operation is simple. When S equal to R is equal to 0, no change. S equal to 1, R equal to 0 is a set condition. After an active clock edge, that is the positive edge. S equal to 0, R equal to 1 is a reset condition. Q becomes 0 after the active clock edge. S equal to 1, R equal to 1 is not allowed. And finally, we will summarize the characteristic equation as well as the truth table of all the flip-flops we have seen, important flip-flops that we have seen. First is the JK flip-flop. So the Q at the time t plus 1, the new state is JQ bar plus K bar Q. So if J and Q for 4 possible values, we can evaluate this equation and put this one. We can also see it by the functionality of the JK flip-flop. When J is 0, K is 0, Q t plus 1 is same as QT. That is no change. J is equal to 0, K is equal to 1 is a reset condition. Qt plus 1 becomes 0 irrespective of Q of t. When J is 1, K is equal to 0, it is a set condition and Qt plus 1 becomes 1. And for the case when both J and K are 1, Q of t plus 1 is the complement of Q of t or the toggle. In the case of the D flip-flop, D simply follows Q. So Q at the time t plus 1 does not depend upon the earlier value of Q of t. It simply follows D. If D was 0, Q of t plus 1 is 0. If D is 1, Q of t plus 1 is 1. That is why we write Q at the time t plus 1 is simply D. For the case of toggle flip-flop, when t is 0, there is no toggling. It is a no change case. Q of t plus 1 is Q of t. And when t becomes 1, we make the flip-flop to toggle. See here, once you construct a flip-flop, the toggling occurs at a precise transition. You don't need to worry about the pulse width. Of course, the clock pulse width is very important so that toggling occurs only once. But flip-flop design will take care of the condition, the race condition that will occur inside the toggling of the toggle flip-flop. So when t is equal to 1, Qt plus 1 is equal to Q dash of t. It's the complement. So the characteristic equation is Q at the time t plus 1 is t exclusive or Q, or in expanded form it is t q bar plus t bar q. This is the equation for the exclusive or this case. So with this we will stop our discussion on the flip-flops. In the subsequent lecture we will first look at how the flip-flops can be used to design larger circuitry, useful circuitry such as registers, shift registers, counters and so on. We will also look at how synchronous digital circuits can be built using flip-flops as the basic building blocks. Thank you.